This time Martin Odegaard. Zinchenko from Ketty, it's four. Martinelli tiptoeing in. Predatory, perfect. There is a gorgeous arrogance about Arsenal now.
It really is. They are enjoying every second of this.
Hello and welcome to Not Another Arsenal Podcast, aka the Hector Bellerin of Arsenal Podcast. My name is Mike Hers, your host. It's been a while, boys. I'm a little rusty. I haven't done this for a while. We're our Arsenal podcast. Last I recall, we haven't been on for a little bit. Life got pretty hectic for all three of us, but we're hoping to regroup. We'll see how this plays out, guys. 8 more game weeks. We have to pull through. We can't go 5 to 6 years watching the Arsenal that we've been seeing and then just not podcast when we're actually getting good. So we got to put in an effort here. We got to go into the run-in with the team, support them, and hopefully actually do a podcast. Crowned as champions this weekend was a major push, or this weekday was a major push for us. Brighton 0, Arsenal 1. But what even made the night even better was Nottingham Forest 2, City 2. Kind of unexpected in my behalf because, I mean, honestly, I gave up a little bit of hope that City were going to drop any points. So the fact that they managed to drop points seconds after the end of the Arsenal game, you could see the away crowd just absolutely losing their head. There's like something saying out there where Arteta told Saka they had tied, and Saka was like, really? Like, even he was shocked about it. So good vibes all around. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the narrative that media is bringing up. A very salty manager after this game. We're going to chat all about it. First and foremost, as always, the introductions. Kelly, welcome back, Kelly.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. We needed to make this one happen for sure. All three of us have not been together for, probably a month and a half.
No, maybe, like 3 months. Yeah, long time.
3 months? Oh my God.
Probably.
Crazy. Anyway, for all of you that are still out there and know that we exist.
Shout out to Live Chat for showing up after 3 months then. Thank you.
Yeah, for real. It's just like whenever Calafiore comes back, like he just disappears for a while. You can't really understand why he's gone, but you forget how good he is. Like that's we're maybe next year if we keep it up, we'll be the Calafiore of Arsenal. Unreliable but spectacular when we're actually around. And we look good in our underwear, don't we, gents?
I will take that. And last but not least, of course, Chris. Welcome back, Chris.
I am the Martin Odegaard of Arsenal podcasters. I podcast like 3 times a year. So good to be back, boys. I mean, I feel like if Arsenal, the team, is going to pull through and bring us some sort of trophy this year, we should probably, man up and podcast for an hour and a half every week. It's the least we could do. So good to be back. And I can't think of a better day to podcast. I was just saying this in the back channels. This is one of the best, I think, days of being an Arsenal fan in quite a while. Last couple months, probably, where we got a win and City drew and Spurs are going to get relegated. Maybe. West Ham won, so it puts more pressure on them. I actually listened. I feel really dirty for saying this. I actually listened to a Spurs podcast today because I had run out of all my Arsenal podcasts. No, just to laugh. And it was beautiful. I loved hearing how worried they all are about relegation, and today's result with West Ham does very little for them. In fact, it actually hurts their chances of escaping relegation. So I'm here for all the banter and all the good vibes.
Yeah, they are currently they are 1 point.
Yes,
they're 2 points ahead of West Ham in the drop. That's it, 2 points. So if Forest and West Ham win and Spurs fail to win in the next match, they will be in the bottom 3 in the drop zone.
Well, and have you seen Tottenham's they have some decently hard fixtures coming up too, and they've got a squad of 13 players who are quote unquote healthy. Like, they can't run those players out there every 4 days, and they still have Champions League they got to play in with it, which are all 2-legged ties. Are they still in the are they still in the FA Cup? I can't remember. I know they're obviously out of the Carabao Cup, but I mean, they got some massive problems on their hands. They got a new manager who has done it in Serie A, but has never.
He was really bad at Lazio, and that's saying something.
You're like, oh, here we go.
Carried on. You gave him an excuse to speak Italian. He's like, I'm on it. Don't worry.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that's like that. Well, first of all, I couldn't believe that Igor Tudor got hired by Juventus. First of all, and then second of all, it's like, what? This guy's like, he's one of those guys who like not even failing up, or like he's obviously failing down.
He's the Allardyce of like Croatian managers, basically.
It's like, why does he like? Who keeps hiring this guy? I just think he's one of those people. He must be like, oh, you're gonna pay me to work? Okay, like he's one of those people. It's like,
yeah.
The point is having a job, not what job, and if it leads to anything, it's just being employed.
He's Allardyce and like Alan Pardew back in the day. Like that's who he is.
Pards.
Just
Sorry, Mike. We're already destroying this like 5 seconds.
Well, I mean, we spoke about this, guys. We created about 0.03 xg. There's not a whole lot to talk about other than Bucks, to be completely honest. So live chat, excuse us if we skip out on the one goal that we had. There's not a whole lot of football to talk to, so we're going to talk a little bit about narrative and banter. And my 2 cents, by the way, Chris, got knocked out 2 rounds ago by Aston Villa. Lost at home, of course, because that's what they do. 1-2, and so the great Unai Emery knocked them out of the FA Cup, so no longer in there either.
I would have it no other way.
It's kind of fascinating. I was having this kind of discussion with my good mate Ryan Arshbros, where we were talking about how the league is competitive, but you know, no matter how bad the English teams are doing within the like established domestic league, somehow, dude, they're doing okay in like the Champions League. And I think that's like an indictment of how just hands over heels the money is in the English league. It's just like it's so vast that even the 17th place team in England could still qualify to the last 16 in the Champions League. And I think it's across the board, right? Like every single English team is in the last 32, last 16, whatever fuck round they're doing in the Champions League European trophies now. But this disparity in other leagues is just absolutely insane. I saw somebody like defending Juve or Inter after they got like slapped up. It was Inter when they got slapped by Bodo Glimt. Yeah. And they were like defending, saying, no, I don't think this is like an indication of the downfall of Serie A. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty fucking sure this is an indication of the downfall of the Serie A. And this comes from, as you guys know, I love the fucking league. It's one of the only other leagues that I actually watch. But like, my goodness, bro, like it's like the amount of money. It's literally almost Spurs' second team because they have like 9 or 10 injuries that got them to the next round of the Champions League. It's pretty insane if you start thinking about it like that.
Well, yeah, it's also funny just because like Atalanta had to come back and Dortmund had to Dortmund harder than they've ever Dortmund, like to lose. Like, they were up by like 3 goals and they completely shat themselves and gave away a late penalty to lose that. Like they were Italy was very close to having not a single one of their clubs get out into the knockout stages of the Champions League, which is a disaster for them as a league. And of course, the team that gets there is Atalanta, who is like the poorest and least is of the good teams in Serie A. It would be you consider the most left field and the most kind of nouveau riche, and they're not even like a powerhouse or anything. They're just a well-run club. So yeah, I mean, as far as like Inter, Milan, Juve, like Napoli, all those clubs not making it through is a big negative deal. I mean, again, we probably knew that because like immediately when Scott McTominay went there, he became the Serie A player of the year like instantly. It's just the quality of league. It's still fun to watch, obviously. Lazio aside, because they're fucking awful to watch, in fact. But like it's a fun league, but it's just really you can probably make an argument that Nottingham Forest would win Serie A. Like genuinely, like if they played a full season in Serie A, like Forest could probably win Serie A, I bet. I would think that Brighton would likely win Serie A. Like
there's
that's the talent disparity.
Supporters right now just absolutely losing their mind with this concept. There,
well fucking come get me. They stink.
we're gonna pop up in the Prem Tart thing. Prem Tart.
The real test though is, can Spurs win Serie A?
They were
I don't think they can
for sure.
No, they can't. That's the real.
It's Vicario literally throwing the ball in his own net. What is he doing, folks?
Yeah, so I know they have not another Spurs podcast. Speaking about Spurs and their current form, like I know they have a lot of injuries, but I just can't wrap my head around that both West Ham and Forest are gonna like not only catch them, and I think Forest is a little bit closer to them. I don't know. I feel like you have to be a Spurs supporter to not have that holy shit we're gonna get demoted thing, because I don't know, from the outside I'm like, they're not gonna get demoted, they're not that fucking bad.
They all think they're getting demoted,
which is it's fucking hilarious. I mean, I was listening, was it Arsblog? He did a show and it was like with Andrew Allen maybe potentially, where he was saying that The Athletic I think did like a podcast and it was just specifically Spurs supporters. I may have all these podcasts confused, by the way, so but the gist of it was normally he wouldn't listen to a Spurs podcast, but he was like, hey, I highly suggest listening to this.
That's why
Spurs
I did it.
Yeah, and it was, so you did it. You actually listened to it?
No, I listened to one called I shit you not.
I fucking love you, Chris. Your level of hatred is
God. It's called
bounds.
It's literally called The Fighting Cock. And the intro song is the guy's singing like the fighting, and there's like a little pause, and he goes cock, and then the first guy that comes on after the song, he's like, I woke up in the middle of the night thinking about Spurs. Now I just couldn't get in my mind like this guy had woken up thinking about cock, and I was like, oh my god, these people are so odd. It was the weirdest. I felt like I like entered the Twilight Zone listening to this.
Is this a professional Spurs podcast?
Yes.
Oh, like better than us, right? Like better than the Spurs equivalent of our podcast. More legitimate.
Hope so, Kelly.
Better? I mean, no, nothing's better than our podcast, but like they've got a lot more followers and listeners for sure.
That's
God, that club needs to go down so much. I really want them to go down. Like
I did see like there was one tweet, like a really big Spurs, and said, yes, Arsenal are going to win the league. Yes, we're going to get relegated. And I was like holy shit. Man, tough times. Were like, you know what? Sometimes, and you guys know, I'm fucking flashback 5-6 years ago, 7 years, 8 years. I was never like the last few years of Arsene Wenger. I was not a fan, but my fucking sake, it never got that bad. It like we were never this much of like, holy shit, we've spent. And here's the thing too, is like, and I brought this up on Loose Cannons in a podcast that I've been doing a lot lately with BG, Bearded Gooner on Twitter, and Arspros, Ryan on Twitter.
Been cheating on us.
Been cheating on you guys. I felt lonely.
We're not putting out anymore. He's got to get it somewhere.
I had to get I need to justify the investment of this $50 mic, okay, guys? I can't just not podcast with it. But no, it's just saying like it never got that bad with us, and it's pretty insane to look at it in that perspective, because like we've been bantered, and I feel like we're kind of scathing, and I guess we're going to talk about the media aspect of things. We spoke about this pre-pod. We're going to talk about it a little. Like there's a clear narrative with the media, and maybe it's solely because they know that there's like a large fan base of Arsenal supporters on Twitter, and they're like, hey, we want reactions, so let's poke at them. And maybe that's why they do it. But we see these crazy contrasting things where like, Arsenal ruining football with set pieces, but on the other side, something about like Liverpool catching strength with set pieces. And it's like so fucking blatant. And my point in the last podcast that I did was, if you think about the money that Spurs has spent, Chelsea has spent, and I because I'm roping in Chelsea too, because Chelsea is like nearly 2 billion euros in, right? And they're struggling to hit top four. Spurs have spent, what is it, like 700 million, and they're freaking 17th. And somehow we get more shit off of scoring a goal off of a corner. And like it's pretty fascinating to an extent, fascinating in a really fucked up way.
Yeah.
How much they criticize Arsenal for like literally everything, good or bad. And like you got these other teams that has spent nearly $1 billion and they're like fighting, hoping to stay within the Premier League. And you're like, well, holy shit, why aren't they holding him accountable? Like, why aren't there like why isn't the media just like absolutely beating the shit out of the Spurs every single time they lose? Like, there's no explanation for me.
I
And,
think they're so pathetic, Mike. Like, so I listened occasionally to like other English football podcasts, and the one that I listen to most frequently is called the Football Ramble, which is actually like a pretty funny take on it. They're kind of it's the same type of humor, but they're like a general English football podcast, and they just kind of sit there and just laugh at Spurs generally, and they're a joke. I think they're as a club, they're like, it's not even contemptible. They're just such losers that everybody just makes fun of them. And now because Spurs like just kind of make fun of themselves also, it's like, well, yeah, we're probably going to get relegated. Again, it is insane. The injuries are insane, but like even other people now, they start to say it's like, yeah, they're talking about their new stadium. I think that stadium opened in like 2019. Like, how long does it take you to get your shit together? Like, they're just that like people don't even take them seriously anymore. Like the reason why they don't pay there's no fans to incite. They all know that they're shit. In their little moment in the sun that they had for like a half decade when all they actually accomplished was finishing above Arsenal. And I think also people are realizing that like the Europa League is not a thing anymore. Like it's literally a bottom third team. Premier League team is probably going to win Europa League from now until the end of time now. So like, or like a mid-table Bundesliga team will win it. So like the second that we stopped having people are understanding that Champions League teams don't drop into Europa anymore. So that tournament went from being a fairly serious like second cup to being like a kind of a Mickey Mouse third cup.
Absolutely.
It is funny that people don't bag on them, but it's kind of like, yeah, of course you can like look at how fucking pathetic that is. Like it's not fun. It's fun teasing Arsenal fans because we're good and there's lots of us and we have some amount of pride and fight in us. And it's not as fun teasing Spurs fans because they're really bad and pathetic and weak and they know they are and there's no fight back. So like it's not entertaining to bully somebody who's curled up in a ball and crying and holding a white flag. Like, why is that fun?
It can only take you so far, huh? And then it gets to the point where you're like, never mind. I'm trying to remember who's in the last 16. There's English. Oh, Aston Villa.
Yeah,
last 16. And it's a realistic, and Nottingham Forest again. Nottingham Forest last 16 in the Europa League, the Conference League. I can't remember who it was, but there's somebody like even like a lesser club or mid-table club there. But dude, like I'm looking at it right. And they're going up against maybe Porto in Portugal, Roma in Italy. And those are like the quote unquote big teams left in that tournament. So yeah, to your point, it's kind of weird, man. Like I think like you said, it was kind of fun as a gag for a little bit, even with the Conference League, the whole Champions of Europe thing. But it just get to a point where, like now people are kind of, it was fun to me in the most ironic way possible, Chris.
That's fine.
Yeah.
From West Ham fans, absolutely. From Spurs fans who actually believe they're champions of Europe, it was pathetic. Let's be honest.
Has anybody checked on the ginger guy?
With the West Ham guy?
West Ham guy, yeah.
Well, West Ham Central.
Good Lord.
He doesn't show up on my feed, so I think they're so bad that he just like his engagement is down quite a bit because they're so bad. What are you going to say about that? They like West Ham's too is so funny because they pay about 5 cents a year to have that stadium, that 50,000 seat stadium. Everybody hates it. Nobody goes to it. And they basically pissed away every cent they got. And like they had to sell, they like were forced to sell a player directly back to Brazil and who would largely be counted as one of their best players. So like, I don't know. That is a spectacular line.
Dean, let me tell you something right now. I
was trying to talk, and Christian's like losing it, and I didn't see that quote on the screen right away.
Dean, I'm way too drunk and way too high to entertain these type of comments right now. Okay,
Oh,
so I can't possibly fathom this.
oh my goodness.
You're a stick man, Dean.
Yes,
How are
absolutely.
we supposed to podcast with Dean in the live chat? Can't. It's impossible.
Ridiculous human being.
Absolutely, man. So, per suggestion of somebody in the live chat, 40J, Champions League boys. I mean, it's been a while since we spoke about this, but we did get a pretty favorable bracket.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of nice that City, Liverpool, and Real Madrid are all going to face themselves in the last 16 and last 8, I believe. So that's pretty legit for us. It does well for us. It's also within the league because, of course, you know, City has to play Real Madrid in the Champions League. So just makes their running a little bit more difficult. But how are you guys feeling on that? I mean, I would say, considering everything, the toughest team maybe is Barcelona on that side. But
For sure, easily.
Yeah.
if you're looking at English competition, and depending on how you view Newcastle, I know I was being an obnoxious fool, just pulling your guys' leg, telling you guys we're going to lose to Newcastle in the semifinal. But I mean, Newcastle for me is one of those teams where, like, I don't know why, but probably recent history in the league, which I'm just kind of like, I'm never like super at ease when we play Newcastle for whatever reason. Maybe having a non-English league ref might help us in that sense because, you know, we've spoken about this in the past, in which Newcastle kind of benefits from the industrial tag, which they're kind of allowed to do whatever the hell they want. Also, I think, is Guimaraes out for the entire season, or he's just out for a prolonged period?
I think he's out for a long time.
So I think basically the rest of the season. Yeah.
I think he's
that makes
huge
substantially better. So
doesn't he have like the Mikel Merino thing where it's like he probably could come back at the very end of the season, but might not because of the World Cup anyway, I guess.
And they might just be out of every competition anyway, so what's the point?
Well, that's fair too.
I mean, I take your point, Mikey, that teams that have had our number in the Premier League, you know, can be scary, no matter what competition it is. And I do think we have a physical advantage over Barcelona. I think they're in general, their team is kind of lightweight from a physicality standpoint, but they're really technical. And I think we tend to do better against teams that come at us, play high lines, aren't as physical. And I think Barcelona kind of fits that mold. But until we actually get one over on a big team in the Champions League, which has, I mean, Real Madrid aside, has been a difficulty of ours from a club level. That team worries me the most on our side, but I will take our side 100 times out of 100 over the other side, because on the other side, you've got, you know, Real Madrid, Man City, Liverpool, teams that, Real Madrid aside, it's all sorts of issues. And yet I think most people are probably have us going to the final. And then it just depends on whether or not who we get in the final, which I would predict is probably Bayern.
Yeah.
I think it's a coin flip in terms of if we can beat Bayern or not in a single match. But we've done it already this year, right? Like we beat a fairly healthy Bayern in a one-off match. And I think that was at home. So this is going to be a neutral stadium. But if we can get healthy, and if we can, I think we've shown is that we're really good set up in Europe. I think teams that come at us get punished. And I think our bogey is more the team that's willing to suffer and play that mid-block, low block for long extended periods of time and just play the margins and hope they win. So, and I don't think Bayern will do that. I think they're too big of a club to think that that's beneath them. And so I think we've got every shot of winning it if we play against Bayern, but we got to get there first. And the first game is against Bayer Leverkusen, which shouldn't be a problem, but you never say never with Arsenal. Yeah,
I think. I mean, truly, and we play the winner of Bodo and who?
Sporting.
Yeah, I mean, truly.
Yeah.
Like you never want to speak ill of any, but I don't know that this Arsenal. I think sometimes Arsenal respect their opponent too much, but I don't think that we go in taking for granted competition level. I think more so we're so concerned about having and holding our leads sometimes, and having and holding our territory and protecting what we do have, that we don't expand quite enough and make up for that. I think that's more of a flaw. But I mean, I think we've lost 3 matches in all competition. We played like 40 some matches this year. So we should have enough, even if we're not at our fighting best, to at least get into the semifinal. And I do think with a budget that's our size and a club of our stature, it's kind of like PSG, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich would all say that their minimum expectation is to reach for European competition would be to reach the Champions League semifinal. That's what I would think, right?
Absolutely.
And if we want to be seen among that top 4 to 8 clubs in the world, that should also be our same expectation. That there's going to be a little bit of chip, chair, and chance. There's going to be a little bit of variance, and there's going to be some stuff outside of your control when you get to semifinals and finals. But largely, you can control. I mean, we're where we're at in the bracket because we won all of our matches in the league phase. So we took care of business in a big way then, and so this is the benefit. And hopefully, that bodes well for how we set up not just in the Champions League, but in the domestic cups and everything too. And I do agree, and I know that Arsenal Vision was talking about that this week. There might be a situation by which the FA Cup is like a distant consideration because we got to play in a final. You're in the League Cup final. They're gonna try to win it, and then the Champions League and Premier League, if we're in those 2 competitions as well, has to take priority, and then you rotate. And if you go out of the FA Cup, you go out of the FA Cup. We got lots of those. So I don't think you could losing in the final for the League Cup would be more damaging than going out a little bit early in the FA Cup, I think.
Agreed. Yeah, we need to get one over on City, and I think City winning that League Cup final may give them a little extra motivation even in the league. So I don't want to give them any foothold at all. So I'm not saying that like they catch us. I think we were definitely in the driver's seat. I think today was really pivotal for that reason. But I do think, they've got this sort of psychological advantage over us and have because they've won it so many times and they've caught us numerous times in these run-ins. And I think just them beating us in a final could give them a bit more of that psychological edge that, as we know, I think that's our fatal flaw is psychologically, mentally, we're a bit fragile and the pressure's on. And so I don't want that to get ramped up in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, they've been little brothering us for a while. And I think it's time for that to stop. I think this is probably the first time where we have been better as a team. I think they have better individual single players. Like Erling Haaland, I think is probably the best attacking player in the world. Or the most effective and efficient one. I think they probably have the best shot stopper in the world as well. They have individual players who are absolutely like Semenyo scored again today, and he's proving himself to be one of the very best wide forwards in the world.
I wanted him so long ago.
And I think if he was there for the summertime, honestly, Arsenal, it sounded like the leaks were like he wanted to come here and we wanted to go there. But I mean, it's City print money because they're a bunch of fucking cheats. So like, obviously they had an extra 80 million lying around to not have to wait until the summer. They could just go and fill squad positions. And again, hilarious because everybody was just touting the dreadlock guy as the world's best left winger. And then he just doesn't play anymore because they bought somebody better.
Doku.
Yeah, Doku. So yeah, like it as a team, as a collective, as a 1 through 18 and backups at multiple positions, and it seems like we got a little bit more than them, maybe for the first time ever. So to get one over on them in a cup final, and get them one over on them in the league would be, I think, a pretty resounding endorsement of kind of our strategy and Mikel, really. So, and the history will not remember that City were down a little bit this year. They will still look at that team and see Haaland and Foden and Guehi and Semenyo and Donnarumma and all those incredibly talented, well compensated players, and say, well, over the course of the season, they still got them. So,
yep.
This is a few comments that I wanted to read out. O'Malley was saying that Leverkusen played Bayern Munich between our games, which is good for us because they're still trying to get into the Champions League.
Yep, it's a really nice state of play in the Bundesliga, because for Leverkusen, like, being in the Champions League is more important than them throwing everything they have at Arsenal and breaking in the stage. So like they need 100%. To mind their P's and Q's and make sure that they're qualifying for the Champions League. And it's not assured. It's not The top 4 is not set in stone in there. Besides Bayern number 1 and Dortmund probably number 2, there's some good teams fighting for the 3rd and 4th places.
Yeah. Another great comment that Emily made, and I didn't realize this at all, but Brighton had only lost twice at home all season before this game.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty insane to me. I had no idea that was a long stretch. Another, I'm going to say juicy potential quarterfinal, assuming Barcelona knock out Newcastle and Athletic Madrid knock out Spurs. The hatred and the drama that's been going on with the Copa del Rey versus Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but first leg, Atletico Madrid just absolutely smashed them 4-0.
Yeah.
And then the second leg was played today, and it ended up being 3-0 Barcelona.
They tried really hard.
They were 1 goal away, but they defended it. And the celebration that Atletico Madrid had, just knowing that they had just knocked out Barca. So there's a lot of bad blood between them. Those are draining games for them. Absolutely draining games. So things are we're at that point in the season where within a month or so, there's going to be a shitload of happiness or a shitload of maybes, like almost. Yeah. And that's just how it is. You guys brought up the Manchester City and the League Cup final. I had this conversation just a few days ago. Do you guys think it's going to impact how the rest of the season plays out? Is there any psychological win here? Let's say we do end up facing, them in the FA Cup. If we do end up facing them, in a Champions League final, in the league, even for that matter, do you think there's any psychological edge to be gained here? Let's say if we win the League Cup or if they win the League Cup, because I was in the middle of 2 of my good buddies debating, and one guy went as far as saying we lose the League Cup, we don't win the title at all for the season. And the other guy was more positive about it. He was looking at it like 80%, we still win something. So, I mean, where are you guys? I mean, you don't have to put a percentage on it, but how big of a psychological impact do you think that will make? Go ahead, shoot first, Chris.
Well, the Champions League final, if we were to face City, is after the league is over. So that's sort of off the table, and more of a cherry on top if we face them. And again, I think we're 70%, 80% favorites now for the league. I don't know if that's technically like mathematically what it is, but in my mind, that's sort of,
tell us.
That's we need Scott Willis to tell us. I'm a deserving meter.
No, we need tell us. Chris, that's what we need.
But in my mind, that's sort of where I have it, and I think today was huge in terms of like, from a fan perspective, psychologically, like how much confidence I have in the team now, because we're at worst 4 points ahead of City, and at best 7. So even if we were to lose at the Etihad, we're still ahead of them in terms of points. So I think it's a little bit damaging if we don't beat them in the final of the Carabao Cup, like I said before. I don't think it's the end of the world, but I do think that, again, that's the fragility of our team, is psychologically, for us to get over the hump and win stuff, we've got to be less mentally fragile, and we've got to be able to stand up to the pressure that City exerts in the long term for us to get something over the line. And I do think that losing to them in the final just ratchets it up a little bit more. I'm not a believer in like each competition is its own thing and there's no bleed over from one to the other. I do think that like winning does carry over to other competitions, and I also think losing does. So especially so when it's against your biggest rival for the league. So I do think it's important that we get it over the line. I do think it's somewhat damaging if we don't, but I also don't think it's we capitulate and we lose the league if we don't win it. But I do think it's important that we do win it to kind of suffocate any sort of notion that we can't do this year. We've got to prove that we can handle the pressure, and one way to do it is to beat them in the final.
Any take on this here, Kelly?
Yeah, I think that we can. We have the ability to compartmentalize it if we do lose. The only way that I think it would be a like catastrophic bleed over is if we were blown out, and that basically like doesn't happen to us. Like we don't lose by more than a goal. We don't lose very often, and when we do, we it's the odd goal. So like I just can't see an outcome where it'd be a huge catastrophic thing. I think we would take more from it in the kind of general narrative. The dialogue around Arsenal would be helpful as to how much that I don't think Pep would care at all. And I don't know how much Arteta would care and how much they would allow that to infiltrate the actual teams. I think we would probably be really happy to win it because it'd be the first trophy that this group has won together. And City wouldn't care because they've won like real stuff together with a lot of this group already.
I hate that that's accurate.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I think it's definitely, if we can do it, I think it's positive. If we can't do it, I mean, it's not the end of the world. It'd be pretty easy to to hold on to it as a fun thing. But I do think it's probably more about general fan sentiment and public discourse more than it's actually going to impact how the Premier League would play out. I mean, I think that we don't want this to be a thing, but I think going to the Etihad's, that match at the Etihad is going to be everything.
O'Malley makes a really good point in the chat, and we were talking about this a little bit in our back channels today, that I think some of our success is predicated on the health of key members in the squad, and I think Kai is one of them.
Yes.
You will note today's game in particular. I know there's not a lot to talk about from this game, but we were so much better when Kai came in, and he does the simple stuff really well. And in particular, I think he gives us an out ball when we need it, when we're feeling the pressure and we just need to release that pressure. Like, he's a guy that you can target and can hold the ball, whereas like Gyökeres just isn't that guy. Like, I think he's proven time and time again that when he's up against, a center back and he's trying to pin that center back, he's either going to fall over or the ball's going to bounce off of him 10 yards and the other team's going to be running the other direction with it. So Kai is a guy that you can really target and trust to hold up, but he's also a target man in the box. So we know that we like to do that whole thing from the right-hand side, typically, where Saka or Odegaard, if he's playing, likes to cut in on his strong foot and send that cross to the far post. And Kai makes that really nice run really well. And we didn't have any target today until he got in the game. Gyökeres is not good in the air. We know Martinelli is not very strong in the air. We know Saka is not very good in the air. We know Eze doesn't really have any aerial presence. We have no Marino. So really, I mean, he really brings a lot of threat, and he brings an out ball to us that we just don't have with other strikers. So I think he's crucial in the run-in, and I'm not sure what's happening with his fitness. It seems like they're really trying to protect him from another major injury because he's had quite a few in the last 12 months, 18 months. I think it's crucial that we keep him fit so we can, get the best out of him next year or however many years we're going to have him. But I think he needs to play in the big games. I think he needs to start in the big games. And I think, the Carabao Cup final is a big one that I think we absolutely need him in this side for, whether it's at striker, whether it's in midfield, he needs to be on the pitch.
Yeah, I think a couple of things happen with the substitutes today. One, we forget. We have players at a high technical level and physical level, and I think we have been making do with players who are one or two attribute players, and we kind of forget sometimes that we've deliberately targeted like multifaceted, big, strong, fast, high motor, high intelligence, high technical level players. That's who Arteta actually wants to play in these matches, and so the two that came on, it's really makes a difference to how you progress and keep and how threatening you are to have Kai and Calafiori on at the same time. They're both big as a fucking doorway. They're both really good in the air. They're both super smart, have all this like running power and technical level and can combine and use both feet and all of that stuff that like, and again, Hincapié, which we haven't talked about, has been an outstanding pure defender, and he's becoming more comfortable playing out. Outstanding. But you could even see like he did the same stuff basically as a center back as he did as a left back, and Calafiori did all this other stuff that basically no other left backs can at his size and with his profile. Like, he's a one-of-a-kind player. He just is hurt all the fucking time, so it's hard to play him. And you even try to play him, and he gets hurt in war. So he's been hurt in war almost like 4 times. and had to sit out an extended period. Like, I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what a human being can do in warmups, but that guy gets hurt in warmups like 1 out of every 5 times he plays.
Yeah.
So like, it's one of those things that when those guys, you can see the old again game for your life Champions League final. Like Kai starts at striker and Calafiore starts at left back, even though Hincapié has been excellent. And even though
He's a monster.
Yeah, and then like Gyökeres is leading the team in goals, but there's too much other stuff that you sacrifice by not having those guys there in the biggest games because they're so big and so strong and so technically adept. And that left side went from being a fucking dumpster fire with Gyökeres kind of fading over there and Martinelli like scatterbugging around and nobody being able to trap or hold the ball to like just completely just locked in by putting Trossard and then having Kai float over there and everything.
And Eza too, like playing a bit more on that side, and he's really hit some form as well. So
well, especially because Eza too. I mean, Eza had I think Eza was as technically secure today as he's ever been. He was the only guy for the first hour and change of that match that could put their fucking foot on the ball and turn and carry and everything. And he's having to do stuff that he doesn't love to. I don't think he loves to be that guy, but when it's that messy around you, you kind of are forced to do that. And I think it's encouraging that Eze is starting to solve problems in the same way that, like, again, we put Kai on. What are we not? We're not holding it up. We're not being technically secure. We're not winning Euro. But what are we going to do? Okay, he just goes and installs like on one leg, just does all that. It's okay. Well, shit. Like we're going to go from a 3 out of 10 in these categories to 7 or 8 out of 10. And it's going to fundamentally change how we do it. And Brighton could not live with that anymore.
Do you know what I love about Eze's game right now?
Yeah.
Aside from the stuff that's super obvious, is I think what he does is a bit. It's a little akin to what Odegaard does, in that Odegaard can drop deep and then advance the ball primarily through carrying and security and sometimes passing. With Eze, if you guys remember, the goal that we got against City to draw 1-1 was a deep pass from Eze, basically in the middle third, and Martinelli's running through the center, and Martinelli basically one touches dinks over Donnarumma from a beautiful pass. And today, Eze did something very similar with Martinelli running through the middle. He's just, the weight of his pass, the touch from deep, the way that he sees a central runner and he picks that pass out in a way that I don't think we've got anybody else in midfield that can do that. I mean, outside of Odegaard, but we haven't seen Odegaard in so long, it's hard to remember.
Yeah.
Is really encouraging in a way that, you know, I didn't expect Eze to be able to do that, or even to pop up in those kinds of areas of the pitch, because I consider him to be a guy that's most effective, or maybe solely effective, in and around the final third. So for me, that's an added bonus. And I think, you know, we were probably, you know, one better touch from getting a shot on goal from that particular pass. And I'd love to see that more often, because I think Martinelli is quite strong running through the middle. He's kind of fast. He's pretty fast. And Eze really likes to pick him out from that position.
So here's kind of where I am as regarding, because we were speaking about fitness and we're talking about Eze and we're talking about Kai. This upcoming game, lower opposition weekend, I look at this like a valuable opportunity to rest a few players. Kai is coming back from injury, and I think he's one of those players that, like, you kind of have to play him so that he could get a little bit match fit. So I would really like him to start this game, and in any position. You know, we all thought he was going to be striker, but Gyökeres is there. Odegaard and Medina are potentially out. We deployed, at least on Google, says a 4-2-3-1, depending on how you want to look at that, which is as in a more advanced role. And we had Zubimendi and Declan Rice playing a double pivot. I love Declan Rice and I love Zubimendi, but they look tired. And you know what better position? The draw for the FA Cup was very, very favorable to us. Why not rotate? So the only thing I'm coming up with, though, is we don't have a lot of midfielders to rotate. You know, we all know Norgard is there, so Norgard might potentially be in there, but I don't know. And here's another, you know, and I'm going to talk about Miles Lewis-Skelly slightly, but there's a question that I want to just leave last, as it doesn't really relate to the conversation that we're currently having. But Miles Lewis-Skelly was slated to play in the midfield last round. So I guess Miles Lewis-Skelly and Norgard. I don't know if that's a real possibility. Chris, you put this quote in my head a long time ago, and it said necessity is the mother of creation. It's something like that.
Necessity is the mother of invention. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
So you put that in my head. So we'll see. But it would be lovely to see Kai start, in my opinion, play behind Gyökeres. Whatever synergy they had reflected good in the last games that they had. Unfortunately, Kai Havertz went out again, and maybe it's an opportunity for Gyökeres to like stat pad a little bit more. But even if he gets some rest, Gabriel Jesus could come in. It's kind of nice. He's an option for sure. He does exist. He's a good player. So I see no reason not to heavily rotate this weekend and use this FA Cup draw as like our opportunity. We got no Dubai trip. Not that it's safe to go over there right now, but you get my point. We got no rays in the sun. We got no opportunity for that. So this is the opportunity for like heavy rotation. So I'm generally curious to see how deep he does it. But dude, I'm prepared for Miles Lewis-Skelly in midfield. I'm prepared for Marley Salmon at right back. I'm prepared for all of this. So I'm prepared for Mosquera and Ben White as center back. I want to see all this is at all possible. So we'll see. The only two poor players that never get some rest is Martinelli and Trossard. Those guys are going to play yes or yes because there's practically nobody there. But Madueke will probably play in position of Saka.
Let's hope.
Yeah, so most likely. But yeah, just speaking about Kai Havertz, man, he's such a Swiss knife that he could do a little bit of everything. So I'm not quite sure where he's going to start, but I do believe that him getting some minutes in today was vital. But hopefully he starts or plays an extended period of minutes in the actual FA Cup. That's what I'm hoping for. Like I said, long live these favorable league draws, man, because we haven't had this shit in so long. Long, by the way. Okay. There was a comment that both of you guys made. I don't want to like leave that there because it's just itching. You guys,
I just say,
shoot,
Mansfield, who are playing on the weekend, has more wins against Premier League teams in 2026 than Spurs do. Sorry, go ahead.
I love those.
This is why you are on, Chris. These are the comments that you need to make.
I mean, just had to.
No, so one thing it's just in the back of my mind because both of you guys kind of referred to potentially Bayern Munich in the final. I this is just a question because I've been going back and forth on this. Do you guys see Manchester City as lesser than before? Because like I look at Manchester City and I'm like they have all the opportunity to knock out Bayern Munich, but like I've seen a lot of this conversation online where they're like Bayern Munich in the final, and I'm just kind of like. I'm feeling slightly confident. Like Real Madrid is battling with injuries. They also lost Rodrigo, depending on how you rate him, but he does fairly decent in Champions League. So I could see Manchester City making it by Real Madrid. And I don't know, that Bayern Munich team, they're good, but I guess I don't consider it a wash. I don't consider it like an easy win for them in any way, shape, or form. But so am I overestimating Manchester City here, boys, or is this I'm just not letting go of the past and I can't just ignore the fact that there's some juggernaut?
I mean, Holland is their talisman, but those City teams that were winning everything, Kevin De Bruyne was at the center of it. And I do think that him moving on and getting old and going to Napoli has left quite a sizable hole in their midfield. I don't think Rodri's the same as he was. I think he's still a very good player, but he's not Ballon d'Or Rodri anymore. He's 28, 29, lots of mileage on the legs. I think they don't have that like killer player that can be a secondary kind of dependable scorer to Haaland. I mean, they've gotten, I guess, Semenyo, who might be that guy, but he's still quite new to the team. And then they've had a lot of disruption in their back line. With injury, they've had Gvardiol out for a long time this year. They've had Diaz. I think he's back now, but he was out for a while. So they've had a lot of
John Stones has been in and out.
He's been out for most of it. And they've got Guehi in there, and they've got I don't know who else is playing center back now. Probably Diaz now back, but
Diaz not so much Kusanov anymore. I think we're kind of out past the point where he's playing very much.
Yeah. And then they just don't. I mean, they've got at fullback, they've got Nico O'Reilly, who's been playing a lot, and they've got
who's been spectacular, by the way. He's probably going to be the starting left back for, at least he's odds on here to be the starting left back for England at the World Cup. He's not a left back, but
he's a midfielder by trade.
Yeah, but I mean, he also fits the physical profile of like he's basically like a left-sided Ben White kind of.
Yeah.
As far as like physicality goes, so I mean, he's a special player, but it's also just like a Pep thing, like playing Matthias Nunez at right back. Like, that works well until it doesn't work anymore.
I just think they're missing that one guy with the gravitas in the midfield. And I think Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri were those guys. And I think you've got to diminish Rodri and no Kevin De Bruyne, and no real heir apparent to Kevin De Bruyne. And I think he's kind of a glue, like he's kind of like a spoke in a wheel. He's kind of a glue guy. He's kind of like a guy who makes everybody better and makes it cohesive. Yeah. And I think what they have is, to your point, Kelly, a lot of good parts, like a lot of excellent parts, and they've spent a lot of money to get those parts.
Yeah,
especially on the wing. But like, I'm not sure that they're getting a dependable tune out of that midfield to the degree that they did before, where they can snuff out opponents. They can. They're giving up a lot of goals this year, which is, I think, a concern for them. And while they might be scoring quite a few the other way, I think they're always a bit of a glass jaw because teams can get at them. I mean, Forest scored 2 today. They give up 3 goals and I think 2 goals or 3 and 3 to Leeds earlier this year. We give up 1 and 0 to Leeds this year. I mean, we just don't give up the goals that they do. And so every game feels like it can be hanging in the balance against a City team, where before they walk on the pitch and you already knew you were beaten because you couldn't score against them, and they could put 5 on you really easily. So I think that's the difference between previous years and this year.
Yeah. So for starting lineup today, I mean, part of the reason why they drew this is that Nunez, who's a midfielder and has played attacking midfielder a lot of his career, was playing right back. Nori, who's more of a wing back. So again, the conundrum that Liverpool have with Frimpong, where they're really good.
He's undersized.
Yeah, small and really good as an attacker, but they're not particularly good fullbacks, especially going against like big demonstrative players. Rodri scored today, but he's still Rodri's old enough and didn't have as much physicality that I really do think the ACL is probably going to be the end of him as a top player. He's kind of coming back and everything, but he didn't have enough pop to lose that much pop and first step and flexibility. So he's not as good. Bernardo Silva is playing as an interior player too, and I mean, Silva's a really versatile player. I mean, as big as he is a fucking rat-faced prick, like he's a really talented player, but he's also like physically that's not a great linchpin in the middle of the pitch. He's just small and wispy, and I mean, he has some fight to him, but it doesn't mean that he's not going to get run past and run over. Foden is really in poor form and has been the entire year. Shirky is a one-way player, is a really talented attacker, is a miserable and disinterested defender, which is why he was purchased for what he was purchased for. And I mean, really, Pep has this set up with basically some Haaland and Semenyo as a second striker. Like the goal is to hold on and then outscore people. And that's something that they don't have the security. And like if we're literally going and looking at their bench too, we have a better bench than City does, which is fucking crazy. It's Doku, who's out of form, Savinho, who's never really settled there, Kusanov as a defender, who's fucking horrible. Like Reiners is another one. I mean, Mikey, you know this, is a one-way, really talented attacking central midfielder, but is not a good defender.
Not at all. No.
John Stones is constantly injured. Nathan Ake has had a bunch of injury problems, and he's starting to lose a step. Omar Marmoush is really redundant. I think one of my predictions is that Marmoush is going to be out of there and he's going to be special wherever else he goes, but he needs to play as a center forward, and they have the best one in the world there. So like Marmoush is a big redundancy, and I don't think he plays very well with other people. And Nico Gonzalez has been a huge fucking bust. So like that's not a bench that inspires change. And they brought in Doku, Savinho, and Kusanov today, and it's like literally we brought in better players with one substitute, with one sub, and fixed the game.
Well, first and foremost, Kelly, holy shit, you dismantled Manchester City.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, bro, holy shit. Second, because we're discussing Bayern Munich and City in the Champions League, Pesky Colson brings up a good point and says, "Hey, would not relish Bayern Munich again," referring to the final. The Kane narrative nauseating. I didn't think about that, but absolutely,
he's right.
Kobe says Bernardo Silva, he's been a great player, but I can't stand him. On the can't stand him front,
oh my God, the team whining today about the officiating. I just can't, man.
Yeah, like somebody pointed out, for a team that claims to have this big competitor mentality, and how it was him or Rodri, whoever the shit it was, where like Arsenal, it was like Rodri, like Arsenal like outscored them, and he started talking about saying that they won because they wanted to win, and it was about mentality.
Yep.
The fact, first and foremost, Rodri comments, borderline just fucking called him corrupt without using the word corrupt, and he continued to play. I will say this. At this point in the fucking time in the league, bro, if they actually suspend him and he misses the Arsenal game, yes, it would be cool, but I kind of don't want to, like, I don't want to fucking hear it. Just like at this point, like it's nearing
corruption.
It's nearing like a full fucking month now, if I'm not mistaken. Like it's been like 3 weeks at the very least. So like none of this makes sense. So like if they don't have to investigate it that much, but the nutsack on that motherfucker to come out, borderline say they're corrupt, and then follow up by 3 to 4 games when they just get every fucking call imaginable.
Yeah.
And then when they finally draw, this shithead Bernardo Silva to come out and be like, we know how it is. We don't get any 50-50s. As if he didn't completely smash into an opponent last game.
Last game,
disregarding the fucking ball at play completely
on a yellow,
and
multiple
he's just
fouls.
Like he's hitting you with the, we know how it is. They're just against us, motherfucker. Yeah. Like, come on, dude. Like, it just,
Mike. I think my response to that was because somebody posted that. I literally couldn't believe that he actually said it. It's like, has there ever been a player with a easier run than him? Like he's none of the national team pressure. He's just played third or fourth banana to like Cristiano Ronaldo. He's just run behind him and cleaned up his messes internationally his entire career. And he's been in a team that's fucking cheated for the entirety of the time that he's played there. And just the shameless audacity of like sociopath, like athletes like that is like, geez, will you have some fucking decorum? Like this is a bad example because Mark Gahey seems like an exceptionally nice human being, but like, would Gahey ever say anything like that? Like even with like Phil Foden, assuming that he can put a sentence that long together, like would he ever say anything like that? It's just the kind of like, whenever after these matches, when it doesn't go exactly right, Bernardo Silva gets on his fucking 6 phone book so that he can reach the microphone and just goes on these like ridiculous screeds where it's like, you're a fucking lunatic. Like you are either stupid or more likely you're just an absolute narcissist and you actually believe this complete horse shit, which is probably why he succeeded under Pep for so long, because Pep does the same shit too. It's just like, what planet do you live on? Like people in the locker room can't possibly think that that's real. It's like, bro, we've all gotten the money. Like we all know that we're huge cheaters, and they're like still letting us go. And again, like Dopey over there is like still here, even though he called everything deliberately corrupt. I'm sure most of it is just like YOLOing.
It's a massive piss take, is what it is.
Yeah, I think Silva's in his like towards the end of his career, and probably might have some idea that the city project is not long for this earth for a little while. And so what does it matter? He's just trying to light a fire and start some shit. And I mean, I do think to some degree the Rodri thing worked out well for City. They put pressure on the officials, and they got a bunch of pretty marginal calls that flipped their way all of a sudden. And like, I don't know, man. Like we all don't get penalties. Like Kai got booted in the calf this match, and if that would have been given, it wouldn't have gotten wiped out on VAR. So like, shit happens. Just put that away instead of passing it to Morello on the line. I guess you win. I don't know. Like what can you say? People have told us that since the beginning of time, that context doesn't matter. So how about you shut your little rat face and just move on?
Yeah, it's just when I saw the comments, I went into the comment section and I was like, okay, somebody is going to ask Grok if this is true. That's all I thought about. And somebody asked Grok if it was true, and they're like, yeah, no, you confirm. He actually said this post comments. I'm like, my goodness, dude. Like, how detached from reality can you possibly be? I don't know, Chris. I just thought it was pretty interesting. And so something that Kelly brought up as far as our memories and like we have a great way of doing this thing as the Arsenal fan base online, in which we have receipts for everything. And Kelly referred to like toughen up, and yeah, there you go, Chris.
I have receipts for everything.
And they're bringing up the fact, and we're going to talk about the narrative surrounding like dirty Arsenal ruining football. Discuss this a little bit, just because the comments of the Brighton manager, in which I'm going to now attempt to pronounce his name, Husler, or correct me, Chris.
Hertzler.
Husler.
Fabian Hertzler. Yeah.
I'll call him Fabian. So this idea that like he's always been so critical of Arsenal, and Mikel Arteta had one of the most fucking hilarious post-game interviews, in my opinion, in which they asked him about his comments, because of course Fabian was talking about how we waste time. After the game, was talking about how there seems to be rules that apply to other teams but don't apply for Arsenal, and Arsenal play however they want. Only one team came to play football, et cetera, et cetera. He was incredibly critical of Arsenal. And Mikel Arteta had the most brilliant fucking comeback, and he was just like, hey, the reporter asked him like, hey, does it affect you? Does it bother you? Do you have any response? And he just says, it depends on who says it, which is the most relaxed fucking way, like, of recreating that meme of like the scrawny guy that says
he basically just said he's irrelevant, is what he just said.
It's essentially whatever that meme is. I'm sure you guys know the show where it's like the scrawny guy says, I pity you, and the big guy is like, I don't even think about you.
Yeah, I don't think about you at all. Yeah.
I feel sorry for you. I don't think about you at all.
Exactly.
That's
Dean Warrior.
That was the embodiment of that meme, is what Mikel Arteta said. But they asked Pep Guardiola about it too, and of course he just batted it down and said, hey, there's different ways of playing football. But I'll be completely honest with you guys, the fact that like media and fan narrative kind of seeped into the mentality of like what a manager could publicly say, I thought it was pretty interesting. Like I didn't ever think I was going to hear a manager make comments about that. And another manager that's been like really vocal, but's been like extremely lucky to go under the radar as far as criticism goes, is Arne Slot.
Yeah.
He's like openly every other week calling the league shit because because teams dare defend against him. He keeps on getting his ass beat fucking left, right, and center. He invested near 500 million or near 250?
$500 million in like
half
three
a
attackers.
billion on like 3 players, and he's not in top 4. In like, I'm just kind of like, my goodness, dude, what the actual fuck is going on in like the game of English?
Well, he says it's boring because of all the set pieces, and then they scored 3 or 4 set pieces in their last game. So get fucked, man. I'm sorry, but like,
after specifically hiring a new set piece coordinator for this exact purpose too, like I remember when like an Arteta, I think still they take the piss, but I think tacitly over the last like 18 months, he's like the least ridiculous manager as far as just being deluded. I think most of Arteta's stuff that bugs people is that he's kind of like a rah coach to some degree, in the same way that like they do it in a very different way, but I think the same people that call like Pete Carroll, who is the coach for the Raiders and USC and won Super Bowl with the Seahawks, like cringe kind of, because they're kind of effusive, like very like player protectionist type of coaches. But like a lot of times the people who bug Carroll, what Carroll said bugged them because they don't like Carroll, not because what he's saying isn't true. And I think that's more of what Arteta is like now, and I do think, and maybe this is on I did the AVP post match podcast, which was pretty good today. It was free for everybody. I think they did a free upload, so it wasn't on their Patreon. So obviously listen to this entire thing before you do that. But I think they were Clive and Elliot were talking about how that Arteta's gotten a lot better about this in the last like year or a couple of years, where he used to they used to bait him in, and basically all they try to do with Arteta is bait him, and all this Hertzler shit was all they were trying to pull a quote out of him, and the only thing that Arteta could slide in there was, "Oh, what a surprise." When he said about Hertzler, did you want to say anything more about that? He goes, "No." It's like, yeah, but I think maybe because Hertzler is like 30 or 31, right? He's like exceptionally young.
Yeah.
I think maybe Hertzler is being younger than all of us. He's maybe like part of his, like, he's grown up in like the kind of internet troll culture more than we have, and like the internet bants culture, where like maybe when he's really under stress and his team's underperforming, his default setting is to like basically act like Gary Neville does and just do clickbaity shit, and like what Jonathan Morley does when he's wound up, like just say a bunch of persistently say a bunch of like pretty out there shit and then act on it. But what was so funny about that was like of the match, and I was gone for a couple minutes, so I apologize if we touched on this, but it was so funny to like watch Hertzler constantly berating the fourth official during the match and pointing at that, and then Arteta going over there and telling him to shut up for bothering the official. And then like in the tunnel, they did a tunnel cam for the NBC thing, and you could see Hertzler turn, and when the refs were coming, it was Brighton and then the officials and then Arsenal, and you saw Hertzler turn around and the officials went off to the right side of the tunnel, and Hertzler turned around and went back into the tunnel and went back to talk to him. It's like at some point it's like, dude, you're not that guy. Like you're not even a European manager. Like, go away. Like, this is not like Pep Guardiola saying this shit. Like, what are you talking about? Like, people are not like, and just looking at him, like, seriously, like, the same way they did with Arteta when he was first starts, like, fuck you, like, look at you, Slick, like, get away from me. I don't want to do what you say.
The manager from Leeds must be like asking himself, how did he not get a red card? Because was it Leeds?
Like, poor Farker.
Yeah, you get a red card.
Like,
Melly brought up
like this guy.
Moment of the game today was Nkapia telling him to be quiet and just giving him a shush as he's screaming at him, telling him to play football. And it reminded me a lot of Jurrien Timber. I think it was last season, telling whoever the fuck one of the 15 managers they've had to try harder.
Yes, Maresca. Yeah.
Maresca, there you go.
One of my favorite moments was when Arteta and Hertzler shook hands at the end, and it was such a steely, cold, like quick handshake, and I was just expecting them to do the Conte Tuchel thing when Conte and Tuchel were at Spurs and Chelsea, and like they do the do-si-do and they like kind of do a dance and they get in each other's face and like do all the things. I'm sorry, but if I was Arteta, I would not be able to hold my nerve. I would be doing shit like this, like I would be doing like this whole thing the whole time, because you guys know me, like online. I am in person like I am online. I just will bait the shit out of you if I don't like you.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what I would do to that guy, because that prick deserves it so much.
Here's what I do think that happens when you go this big. This is like the Jose Mourinho, like really, really working the media really hard. And if they would have won 1-0, everybody would be talking about how Hertzler just played Arteta, and he won the battle of the narrative, and it translated onto the pitch. And what a masterful job creating a situation by which you stack the deck or kind of turn the tie in your favor by your great kind of cagey work. And when you don't, if you're Fabian Hertzler, no, you just look like a brick. You look like a whiny prick. And I think that would, I'll be interested to listen to some of the English-based midweek stuff, because I think the Yurdas are not going to care for Hertzler very much. I think he's a 30-year-old Austrian who just complained for like days straight and acted like a sullen prick. Like, I don't think that the old puffy guys that kind of direct at least the base level narrative in like the newspapers and everything are going to have much nice to say about him. And I think if it was anybody else besides playing against Arsenal, I think your Carragers and your Nevilles would probably chime in a pretty negative way too. But it was against Arsenal, so they're not going to say shit because that's who they are.
Oh, the receipts that Neville and Carrick has been getting as of lately. Every time they criticize Arsenal for being a little bit too physical, or they criticize literally anything they criticize Arsenal for, there's literally a clip of them praising.
Tweet, a video, a post.
Doing exactly the opposite.
Anything that says exactly the opposite. Exactly.
It's absolutely amazing. Like you said, there's always a freaking tweet. But
they're the most insubstantial people on earth because their ideas are totally like any other pundit and any other thing. Like there's no intellectual consistency. It's all just what can generate the most dialogue right now. It doesn't they don't stand it. They have no standards or morals or no actual opinions of any kind. It's just stirring shit up.
100%. But boys, we did play a game today. So that was good.
Good.
We said it's the beginning. We weren't going to chat about Brighton game a whole lot because there wasn't a whole lot going on. The Nkapia shush was probably the highlight outside of the Bukayo Saka scoring, which I'm thrilled that he finally scored. It was took a slight deflection. Kind of feel bad for the goalkeeper if I was a Brighton fan, but 8th goal contribution of the season. I was having this back and forth with a good mate of mine, Omar, where I was saying, like, dude, Saka fell off of a cliff.
Yeah.
And it's been concerning. So it sucks, but fortunately he got on the scoreboard. But he's still literally and there's games to play still, of course, but he's at half the return from last year and about a third of the year before. So when I say he's having a bad season, he's having a bad fucking season by his standards. Within context, by Saka standards, because I think he really rose the standards about play. So you expect more from him, but our attack has been so flat as of late. So the fact that we ended up scoring off of like a slight deflection, I don't care. A goal is a goal. He created it. I was just happy that he was able to beat the man. B, that he got a shot off. Yeah. So I was thrilled to see that because I feel like he hasn't been able to beat a man and to get a shot off on target in a really long time. Praise to Gabriel Magalhaes. I gotta say, him and Raya have been just fucking phenomenal versus Chelsea and Brighton. Like they we're talking about like
early hiccup aside for Raya.
Yeah. So like I said, player of the match. I think Chris was player of the season. I think was that correct, Chris?
For what player?
Gabriel.
Yeah, he's my player of the season.
Yeah, he's like, and this is not a Saliba Gabriel thing. This is just props for props to do. He's absolutely immense. So what a brilliant 3 points for us. We are nearing the end of the podcast. I do want to wrap it up pretty soon. I do have one question in the live chat that somebody dropped a little bit earlier. I didn't want to dive into it because we were talking about Champions League football at the time, but this isn't the first time. Well, Miles Lewis-Skelly was the first time, but Ben White, I'm starting to see this, like, I'm going to say belief get traction that he might potentially leave the club. Maybe we might have broke Ben White, guys. He played a lot of minutes with a lot of tears, and he put thank you. You put your body on the line, but maybe we might have broken Ben White. We don't know what his fitness level truly is. But there was just a question that Petsky asked. Are we going to lose Miles Lewis-Skelly and Ben White this summer because they are a bit part players for us now? So we could almost understand what's going on with Ben White because we understand the fitness thing. Miles Lewis-Skelly is a really interesting part for me because I generally don't know exactly what's going on. I don't know if it's strictly tactical. I found it fascinating that he was going to play in the midfield the other day, but unfortunately plans changed. Somebody did point out as a counter to that question that Miles Lewis-Skelly is 19, but I mean, this is about game time, and I assume he's not thrilled with the fact that he's not playing a whole lot because of the World Cup. I don't know if he's going to miss out on it or not, but what is your guys' take? This time during the summer, do you guys think we're going to have both Ben White and Miles Lewis-Skelly?
I think one will go. I think it'll be Ben White. He's 28. He's shown that he can't stay fit for the reasons you just mentioned, Mike, through no fault of his own. He's been a soldier for us. He's been, I think, as much as his physicality and his technical skill on the ball and his, his good work in defense, like, have been really good for us. I think his personality, just like the dark arts, the stuff that like goes unnoticed or like unappreciated in terms of how you can wind up the opposition. The whole thing with like taking the strap off the goalie's gloves, like just getting under the skin of the opponent, I think is like every good team needs a player like that. I think he's served us really well playing that role, but you can't pay a guy whatever he's getting paid, $160,000 a week, whatever it is. I'm making that up. I have no idea if that's what he's making at age 28 and with his injury record, and not at least try and make some money back. And let's be clear about this. I think Arsenal have spent quite a bit of money the last few years, and I think at some point we're going to need to sell some players if we want to buy. It's just the reality of the kind of club we are. I don't see that changing anytime soon with our ownership. So you start looking around the squad and you go, well, who can we fetch some money for? Maybe who are guys that are aging out? Maybe guys we've moved beyond. I think he's one of them. I think Miles is a candidate if we can get the right fee for him, but I don't think we're going to be like quick to try and sell him. I think there is a massive player in there. He's only 19. He's got a lot of development still. And I think those are the kind of players you want to keep if you can. But I think there is a valuation of him that sends him out the door. I think Ethan is another one that we might look at selling if we can find a buyer for a certain kind of price. I mean, I think at some point we can't keep all our darlings. We've got to make money on some of them, especially if we're not going to be kind of critical parts of the squad. And for whatever reason, I don't love to say it, it doesn't seem like Arteta necessarily has Ethan in his short to medium term plans. Now that could all change with an off season and with development. And I mean, the problem is he doesn't have a great landing spot in Marseille right now because the coach left and he's not getting much playing time. He missed a penalty today as well in a cup game, but he's not getting a lot of opportunities. So his development is stalling. And he's the kind of guy that feels to me like he's going to want to leave if he's not getting promises about his playing time. He almost went to City for that very reason a couple of years ago. So anyways, all that to say that I think we're going to be looking to opportunistically sell potentially some younger guys that we may not want to get rid of if we can make some good money off of it, because I think there are some areas of our team, especially in midfield in terms of depth and in attack, that we're going to want to spend some money this summer. And I don't think we're going to do that without some sales. So I'll say Ben White, I think is more than likely. I think Miles is, it can go either way. It's going to depend on if we have a buyer.
Yeah.
And just to add to the potentially selling a youth player, and it's easy to fall in love with Ethan Winery and Miles Lewis-Skelly, but we do have to kind of look at this as a success for the academy. Like selling Eddie Nketiah for potentially 30 million, it's like 25 million fixed, 5 and
and what's his face that went to Monaco or wherever?
Balogun.
Balogun. Yep.
Oh, Balogun, who sold Beerith was to a lesser extent. These are success stories. We'll look to Newcastle as a success story. So if we bet 30-40 million for both of those players, financially it's massive. And I know, like, speaking about like the financial side of things is not like as sexy as talking about promoting a youth player that makes it in the starting 11, but to your point, Chris, this is the reality of a club the size of the Arsenal. We're not going to do the spend 600 million one season in summer, sell 300 million, and consider ourselves a good selling club like Chelsea. That's not how we ran. So Yeah, but Miles Lewis, I think potentially, and I've been saying this for a while with the arrival of Eze.
Mhm.
I think when Ethan Nwaneri is closer to the exit door than Miles Lewis Kelly. I think Miles Lewis Kelly still has a lot of good faith in the manager, but that's what I believe. That said, selections kind of really tell you what the manager thinks about a player, and thus far hasn't really played a lot.
Well, look what we did with ESR. I mean, he was
Mhm.
sold to Fulham for 34 million, and I know you hated to see him walk out the door, Mike, but
Yep.
he couldn't stay fit, and we got really good money for him. And has he torn down the doors at Fulham? No. Has he been a decent player for Fulham? Yes.
None of these guys we
like
missed
none of them have really. I mean, Iwobi's maybe been the best.
I think Iwobi and Willock.
He's been great.
Iwobi and
Iwobi's
Willock
been fantastic for Fulham.
Yeah,
Better player than I ever thought he would be.
But also Iwobi needed to go to a place where he was playing as like a left winger for us and played as a striker in the academy, and so he had to go to Fulham, and they had to again, needs must. Fulham don't have that much talent, and so you take the talent you do have and you repurpose them in a way that makes sense for your team. And he's found a way to play in multiple positions for them and be really good. But would we go now? And he's quite literally in the absolute meat of his prime. He's 29. He turns 30, which is weird to think that Alex Iwobi is almost 30. But that's what's happening at the end of the season. He turns 30 in May. There's no way we'd ever buy a 29-year-old Alex Iwobi now. I think the lesson needs to be we do not miss these players, and they can be talented, but when you're trading, 30 million for that, and especially you're looking at cost of replacement. And when you buy, one thing you can do when you buy a player is you can buy exactly the type of player that you want to buy. And when you have a player that develops, you're kind of stuck with, for better and for worse, the player that you do have. And some players are like Saka, and it's there's a giant hole in our team at right wing, and he ended up being a really good right winger in addition to a good all-rounder, and that was a internal solution. Or you go around Miles Lewis Kelly too, is a midfielder by trade, but for at least some period of time he became a solution at a different position, and that can happen. But these ultimately too, like you guys said, these guys want to play football, and the time horizon in the career window has moved up significantly, and it's not you are not expecting at 23 anymore to be getting your career started. You were expected to be 19 or 20 and have a prominent starting role. And a lot of these guys want to play international football for one of the most difficult international squads to break into in the entire world in the English team. So if Brentford is going to make Miles their premier signing in the offseason to give us 40 million, we take that. Even with Ben White too, I think Ben White's insanely useful. I keep saying Real Madrid should buy Ben White because they need help at right back and center back, and he would fit that team. He has all this versatility. If Real Madrid paid 30 million for Ben White, that would be huge. That would be a great fit for him and great for us, and we can just go and repurpose that money into somebody else that addresses that problem more consistently. And he doesn't have to play. Then White doesn't have to play more than 20 matches per year, but he's going to be really, really good and helpful for them in multiple positions for that amount of time. And again, that's probably buying this guy bullshit. I'm probably going to get clipped for that too. But
I hope that
he's going to go to Brentford for 10 million, and you're going to like it, Kelly.
I'm not going to like that though.
I have unpopular opinion about Ben White, guys.
Go ahead,
and this is going to sound.
I don't like where this is going.
This is a backhanded compliment. Okay.
Okay. At least it's a compliment. Is there any other kind, Mike?
No, I'm just saying, I don't think he necessarily gives a shit about playing for England.
Yeah,
no, doesn't care at all.
That's very true.
If Mikel Arteta tells him you have a place in this squad, but Jurriën Timber is clearly in front of you, I think he's content with life in London.
Yeah, you might be right.
He's not going to try to push his way out.
I don't think so.
I think it'll be Arsenal's decision.
I think there's more urgency for Ethan Nwaneri and Miles Lewis Kelly just because of the ages they are, and they want to develop. They want to continue to play, but just the fact that he doesn't watch football, his personality, the life that he's been able to construct for himself in London. Look, and I'm not saying he wants to sit on the bench his whole career and doesn't care about playing, but I think he really enjoys his life in London.
But remember,
might be a little bit of a hot take, right? You know, I'm tipping into the he doesn't care about football thing that some people say when he has a bad game, but just the personality that he kind of exceeds on camera and what you think about him and how he speaks about the club, nothing indicates to me that he's going to go, you know, hey, Mikel Arteta, I really need to. I'm desperate to play for who the fuck is the English manager right now? I was going to say Southgate.
Tuchel.
Yeah. I just don't see it happening. And again, sounds like a backhanded compliment, but do you guys kind of understand where I'm coming from?
Well, I do, but remember, there's like 6 Premier League teams that are in London. So staying in London doesn't mean he has to stay at Arsenal. Like,
that's why it's been so fucking hard to sell Reece Nelson, because he only wants to live in London.
To say that. That's that is the cautionary tale. He's 26. We probably could have sold him for 20 million 3 years ago. We didn't. He had his one moment in the sun against Bournemouth, hitting that last second shot in 22-23 that thought, you know, could have won us the league. It didn't. But like, now look at him. He's got 271 minutes at Brentford. He can't stay healthy, and he's going to leave for free. I don't know where he's going to go. I mean,
somewhere in London.
I guess he doesn't want to
live London proper.
In the live chat, it says Ben is going to lift some trophies at Arsenal.
Lincoln City. Like, where the hell is he? Who's going to take him?
Somebody's going to take.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think. We have a lot of London, like Mike said, London boys, and I could see Ben White being the guy too who gets the end of his contract and gets like a 1+1 or something for a really sensible wage, and it's just like I'm cool being a guy here. Like, again, also not a backhand compliment because he's had a much better career and a more illustrious career, but left back for Liverpool, Scottish guy,
Robertson, no,
yeah, Andrew Robertson. Like, okay. I think Robertson is largely late in his career has kind of accepted that he's not going to be an everyday starter anymore, but is a with good cause, a club legend there. And he played, again, I don't think he's concerned, not because Ben White literally doesn't care, but like Scotland will always include him in international squads because they're not replete with elite fullbacks. So they're going to continue to call him in. And he's played a ton of matches for them. So like, I could see Ben White being one of those guys who just kind of kicks around Arsenal. I mean, the flip side is he truly doesn't mind. And he truly values his time. And they're just on a more sensible wage and playing a more sensible role within the team is here for another 2 or 3 seasons and kind of just like, no, guys, I'm cool here. Like I like Arsenal.
That's how I perceive this. I think there's as like club. I think there's work that they might want to do in the summer on our left side. Be it a left back and a left winger, but outside of that, I think the rest of the club, I think they're content with the right-sided options. That's just speculation. Mm-hmm. I know shit about fuck. Pesky did say sell Ethan for 40 million. What premium player could we replace with him for 40 million?
Nobody.
2 points on that. 2 points on that. Yeah. So this is just about, you know, FFP or whatever the shit it's called. It's just about selling a academy player that it goes to all profits. B, I don't think literally, if I'm not mistaken, Kelly, Chris, you guys could correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think any of us actually want to sell him. We're just exploring the possibility due to the people that are in front of him, which when he was here in January and the beginning of the first half of the season, I should say, the fact was, Eze was in front of him, Odegaard was in front of him, and Mikel Merino were in front of him, and that's why we're having the conversation because somebody asked us about Benoit and Miles Skelly. I don't think anybody wants him to leave, but his path to first team football is looking a little bit difficult. Is all I'm saying.
I will say it's looking a little more attractive because I think there are some questions about Odegaard. Now, having said that. On the one hand, Odegaard has not been able to stay healthy this season either. And if the Premier League continues to be a league that is defined by physicality, like it seems to be right now, and Arsenal is at the top of that pyramid of physicality, which we haven't always had in midfield, I don't see a world where he can stay healthy for a long period of time like he had in the beginning of his Arsenal career. And so if that's the case, there is a massive hole in attacking midfield. Someone who he's not the same player as Odegaard, don't get me wrong. Like Odegaard, I think maybe even long term, if he can become even just a little bit more physical, should play deeper, because I think he's actually better as a deeper player. I think the closer he gets to the final third, I think the more, in many ways, he's a liability. He does not have any end product anymore. And I don't know what that 22-23 season was where he had 15 goals, 10 assists. I don't think that's ever coming back. But I do think he's an excellent, maybe even borderline elite player, maybe even world-class player from a progressive standpoint. I think the stats prove that out. I think our inability to progress the ball at times and keep control of the ball this season has largely been because he hasn't been available. So there's a massive hole in attacking midfield that I think in Ethan, if he can play the kind of attacking midfield role that Arteta needs and wants, which is a lot of the off the ball stuff that he hasn't shown that he can or is willing to do, is up for grabs. Now, whether he can do that and get there soon enough is anyone's guess, but that is, I think, the major question in the offseason is, can he make the jump quick enough where he can give a guy like Arteta the confidence to be able to kind of establish that role? Because as Sebi says in the chat, you just brought that up, Mikey, you've got Max coming in who's banging down the door, and again, he's 16, so like no one's expecting him to start a lot of Premier League games, but I can't imagine, if he can stay healthy, that he isn't going to play 1,500, 1,800, maybe even 2,000 minutes starting next year. So where is he going to play?
Take. Dauman comes in at right wing when he starts maturing more, and as
Saka inside,
loses his explosiveness.
Well, he already has. Yeah, I could totally see that. So then you're back to the Ethan conundrum again. Is Ethan gonna unseat Saka in the middle of the pitch? I don't know. I don't think so. I think actually Saka in the long term may even be a better attacking midfielder than he was as a winger, just because I think the closer you get into goal now, I think the better off he is. And I also think he's a really good controller of the ball. I think he's hard to get the ball off of. And I think you get him closer to the goal, and I think he probably scores more. So a lot of questions to be answered in that area of the pitch. I mean, Eze's better on the left, so I don't think he solved that problem. I think he's better off the left or on the left-hand side of midfield. That right-hand side of midfield is a question going into the offseason. So,
sorry, boys. Just got a sick call for tomorrow. Just my phone just went off.
Are you calling in sick, or is somebody else?
No. That's somebody just texted my work phone. So distracted. What a downer for the end of the pod, but it just distracted me. But we're gonna wrap it up there, boys. I'll say this forever. There's nobody else I would rather podcast with than you two gentlemen. Haven't been doing it for a month, but here we are. We just jumped a month or 2 or 3. You said, I think, Chris. But we jumped right in, and
I think it was December since I was last on. So.
Holy cow!
This is my first time in 2026, guys.
Blah.
Holy shit! That is true. Yeah, Kelly and I did a few. We actually invited Ryan on to cover for you, and then Kelly's been filling in. Absolutely, you're right about that. Wow, man, basketball really kicks your butt, man. That's a lot of time consuming.
Work kicks my butt. Let's be clear.
There you go. Yeah. But no, we're going to end the podcast there, boys. There's been not another Arsenal podcast, of course. It's been a pleasure being here. New members in the live chat. I mentioned this in the live chat, but if you guys consider subscribing, liking, I would really appreciate it. Tell a friend. Word of mouth is awesome for us. I've been Mike Hers, your host. My good mate Kelly is at South Metro AFC on the Twitters. Chris, of course, is at Suburban AFC on Twitter. Sporty J, Pedsky, Sebastian, aka Sebi, Oladonkey. You guys have all been awesome. You guys have all been active in the live chat. Really do appreciate that for such a long time away. Yes, Kelly, cue the Gyökeres celebration.
And Dean for the one comment.
For the one comment of the night. Absolutely. Till next time, guys. Hopefully we do this next week. Fingers crossed.
Right foot this time, Martin Odegaard.
Zinchenko from Ketzia's in, it's 4. Martinelli tiptoeing in. Predatory, perfect. There is a gorgeous arrogance about Arsenal now.
It really is. They are enjoying every second of this.